Hey, squad, good morning and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Justice. I'm your host, Suzette Speak. I am here with a beautiful lady this morning who is going to enlighten us on some of the work she's been doing in the legal field. For those of you who have never joined this platform, I want to welcome you. If you're watching on our partners, whether it's on Jamaicans.com or on the Let's Talk Justice Facebook page or on the Suzette Speak Show YouTube channel, I want to welcome you. I'm Suzette Speaks. I'm an attorney and television host here in South Florida, and I'm excited to bring you interesting legal shows and legal topics for everyday people. So if you are brand new, might as well go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. This is how other people can know about our show and we can spread the message. Again, Let's Talk Justice, if you are watching for the first time, is a talk show for the community. This is where we break down current events and legal issues for everyday people. So we'll be doing that today. So again, if you're watching, don't be bashful. I see so many of you out there. Go ahead and leave a comment. Occasionally, I will be able to show your comments, and I want you to be a part of this discussion. We're going to be talking about women in law today. I know you guys know there may be a difference in how women experience the world, especially in the legal profession. So I have a consummate professional here with me today, and she's going to enlighten us about her role as president of the TJ Reddick Bar Association. That is an association that represents African American lawyers here in Broward County, Florida. And she's going to talk about some of the great programs they also are conducting and do to make sure we are doing our best as attorneys to represent our community. They are a voice to the voiceless. They provide scholarships for law students and so much more. So I can't wait for you guys to see her, get to know her as she lets us know what she plans in terms of her tenure as president. So without further ado, let me bring her up there. Y'all give a warm Let's Talk Justice show welcome to none other than Miss DeAnne Jackson. Welcome. How you
Thank
doing?
you. Thank you, Suzette. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here to speak with you today.
We are excited to have you, my love. This will be an interesting conversation because I say when two lady lawyers get together, oh, do you wish to be a fly on the wall? Well, you get to be one today. I want to see you guys. Please drop a comment. Let us know where you're watching. Thank you, Hot Chocolate. I see you. Thank you so much. She's excited. And we are excited to have you, my love. So I'm just going to start by asking you to introduce yourself. I mean, I have your resume, but I would love for you to just tell me where you're from, how you grew up, and a little bit about who DeAnne Jackson is. And welcome again.
So, I was born and raised in Kingston, Jamaica. I moved to the United States at the age of 12. I first moved to Fort Lauderdale for a brief moment, then went to school in Miami, where I graduated from high school, the Miami Coral Reef Senior High School. I was in the Legal and Public Affairs Academy. So that was essentially my introduction to the legal field and really solidified my desire to become a lawyer. From there, I went to college at the University of Central Florida. I majored in legal studies and English. So, again, continuing on my path to become a lawyer before ultimately going to law school at Florida Coastal School of Law in Jacksonville.
Very nice. There is so much I like to say. Go ahead and turn down your volume just a tiny bit. I know we're getting a little bit of feedback, but welcome everybody. This is Let's Talk Justice Show. I'm Suzette Speaks, along with this fearless lady lawyer. She is the president of the TJ Reddick Bar Association, Miss DeAnne Jackson, and she's going to talk a little bit more about her experiences in the legal profession. All right. So, did you know growing up you always wanted to become a lawyer? Was that something that was in your family, or did your parents? I know a lot of people, their parents tell you early on what you're going to be. Were you one of those kids, or how did it come about? Was it like after that program you just mentioned, or was it something that you knew earlier in your heart?
So I actually decided that I wanted to become a lawyer while I was in the Legal and Public Affairs program at Coral Reef High School. Before that, I wanted to be a songwriter, which is actually quite interesting because when I went to college, I think I still had one foot on the law and the other foot on being a creative writer, which is why I double majored in law and creative writing. I think ultimately now I'm a lawyer, so law won, but I don't think I grew up wanting to be a lawyer. It's something that I just fell into and followed that path.
Oh, nice. So programs matter. And when we are in colleges and different programs, it is very important that we get the exposure, because sometimes you don't know what you want to be until it's time. I see a message here. BM says DeAnne is a special person to me. I won't give away my identity. LOL. Okay, all in the business. Okay, secret admirers. Okay, I like it. All right, watching Maudlin, welcome from Nassau, Bahamas, all the way from Nassau. Big up yourself. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All of you who are watching, please drop a comment. Please hit that like button, and please hit the subscribe. Most importantly, we are really fortunate to have this lady here. She is Miss DeAnne Jackson, president of the TJ Reddick Bar Association. So we're going to get a little bit more into her personal story. And I'm going to ask you, DeAnne, so once you got exposure, I love the fact that you wanted to be a songwriter, because I think some of those skills still come in handy as an attorney when we're writing different, briefs or making arguments. I think sometimes how we say things, it kind of can be poetry in a way. So you go to law school. Tell us about that experience for you. A lot of people who watch this show are thinking about becoming attorneys, or want to encourage their kids or whatever to become a lawyer. Was it difficult to get into law school? Can you describe that process of how you applied and got into law school for those who may not be familiar?
So my journey to law school was actually quite interesting. As I mentioned, I was double majoring in creative writing and legal studies, and basically making a decision about which path I wanted to take. So I spent most of my senior year actually applying to magazines, to write, essentially writing positions, because I at the time was not ready to go to law school. However, that was in 2009, which was not a good economy, and a lot of writing was transitioning to freelance work and online and blogging and things of that nature. So I was trying to navigate a new space. Essentially, I realized that that path was probably not going to pan out the way I would like it to. So I decided ultimately to apply to law school instead. I applied kind of late because I was trying to navigate my desire to do creative writing and my interest in doing law. Essentially, I applied to Florida Coastal in Jacksonville. I was admitted. The process, I would say, start early for anyone who is interested in going to law school. Take the LSATs early. If you have the opportunity during your undergraduate career, intern at a law firm. I was fortunate enough to intern at the University of Central Florida's Office of General Counsel during my senior year of college. And it's very interesting because so much of my legal career has since involved general counsel work. So I definitely think that planted the seed for where I am today. So I would say there are opportunities to definitely learn more about what it means to be a lawyer. Make sure that it's something that you're interested and you really want to do, and start the process early with regard to the LSATs and the personal statements and identifying the schools that you're interested in applying to.
I could not agree more. There are so many parts of the process that seem to be, shrouded in mystery. There are a lot of people that, don't have lawyers in their family, or don't know a lawyer. So it's very also important that you connect with anyone that you know, or maybe a friend of a friend, or a friend of someone who in your faith community, or find a lawyer to help you just navigate or answer any questions, or you can ask them any questions that you have, because a lot of the process, like you, DeAnne, I did not know what was happening. I was like, okay, just do this next, do that next. Oh, prep courses, guys, that's another big thing. You just do not go take these tests for admissions to law school or med school or any other school cold. You have to take a prep course. So a lot of people don't know that. People think, oh, I'm smart, I'm going to go take this test and get into law school. Try again. Oftentimes you have to spend some money. Let's start with there. Budget. Make sure you have some money in the bank, because these applications, the prep courses and things like this, these are kind of like the economic barriers for a lot of people. So don't let that be your stumbling block. We want you to, we need more attorneys of color, and we're going to get into that shortly. I want to read this comment. I love it. Teresa Stacy says, thank you, DeAnne Jackson, for your continued advocacy in the community. Your passion is appreciated. Blessings. Thank you. All right. So you got people ready to vouch. I like it. I like it. Because there are so many unsung heroes in the community. That's why I like bringing brilliant women like yourself, community-minded women like yourself on, because, you have a lot of folks that work behind the scenes. And TJ Reddick, I think, is kind of like one of Broward County's best kept kept secrets in a way, because if you're a lawyer, you might know about it. But if you're an everyday citizen, there are bar associations representing attorneys of color and Black attorneys, Hispanic attorneys, women attorneys in almost every part of the country. But the work that we do, you're not necessarily going to be aware of. So that's why I wanted to make sure we give opportunity to those who deserve, more of a platform, so that they can explain, the role of these organizations and what they do to help make all of the community better. So yeah, so let's get into so we get to law school. Do you know exactly what you wanted to do in terms of your practice? What area of law? Because that's another thing. A lot of people think every lawyer does everything. Absolutely not. We try our hand, and then we figure out where we want to specialize. Did you have an idea of what kind of law you wanted to do in law school, or was it kind of like you figured it out after you graduated?
So my game plan when I was in law school was to essentially do as many internships as possible and to get as much exposure to different areas of the law so that I could ultimately decide. I initially thought I wanted to work with children, do work with juveniles. And so my first internship during my 1L summer, the summer after my 1L year, was with the Guardian Ad Litem program in Jacksonville, Florida. It was a good experience, great work that the organization does. My second summer, I did the summer associate route, and I was a summer associate at a big law firm. And then in between, I also had the opportunity to spend a semester in Tallahassee clerking for retired Supreme Court Justice Peggy Quince. I also did a clinic where I worked with the public defender's office as a certified legal intern representing defendants. So I had the opportunity to gain, I think, as much exposure as possible. I think so that was criminal, clerking at the appellate level, corporate work with the big firms. So I saw, um, you know, the gamut. So that was essentially my game plan in law school. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, but I know I wanted to be exposed to as much as possible, and I think I was able to accomplish that.
That's what's up. Girl, you had more planning than I ever had. I was in law school like, somebody please tell me what I should be doing next. I love it. But thank God he sends angels, because I had a few great classmates that if they did something, I did it. That was kind of one. I don't know if you were one of those people. Anybody in the comments, let me know. But sometimes I was lost, and it can be a very overwhelming experience. You were a planner. I love it, because definitely step by step, it was like, okay, I did a little bit of federal work, or I stepped into, working with children. Talk about the Guardian Ad Litem program. That is a program that is nationwide, and some people may have heard of, becoming a guardian. Other people may never have heard of that program. Can you explain what a Guardian Ad Litem is and the role they play in the court system?
So I've served as a volunteer guardian ad litem. I've done 2 rounds of that, as well as served as an attorney for the actual guardian ad litem program in Broward County. So essentially, the guardian ad litem program throughout Florida, they represent the best interests of children in dependency proceedings. So we have children who have been abused, abandoned, or neglected, and these attorneys and these volunteer guardian ad litems, they go out, they visit the children, they make sure the environments that they're in are safe, they make recommendations to the court regarding what's best for the child, and they advocate for services. And this could be something as simple as, creating normalcy for the child, making sure that they're getting into sports, because just because a child is in foster care, they still need to have a well-rounded life. Or it could be something as important as advocating for a child to be removed from a potentially abusive or neglectful home. So that's essentially the Guardian Ad Litem program. Although I don't necessarily practice juvenile law anymore, it's something that's very near and dear to my heart. So I am currently in my second term on the Juvenile Court Rules Committee. And so that's my way of staying connected and helping to create the rules that govern these types of proceedings.
That's huge. Like, it sounds simple, guys, but that's huge. The people who help do the rulemaking are super important to the process, because she's actually experienced and seen, what plays out in our juvenile court. So to be a part of that rulemaking process as an attorney on those committees is super important. So that's some of the work, guys, behind the scenes. I just want to point that out. People are like, oh, okay, she's a rulemaking committee member. That's huge, because now we are helping to shape, not only practicing, but helping to shape, what happens in those hearings. So very cool. All right. So I didn't know you were an attorney for the actual program as a whole, like representing the attorney, representing that program as a whole. So that's very cool. So tell us about your first job. Where'd you end up after all that wonderful planning and being able to see kind of all areas, different areas of law, I should say. Tell us about your first job. Was it hard to get? And did you enjoy it?
So, after all of that planning, I graduated law school in 2012, which was also a very difficult economy. At the time, it wasn't common anymore to graduate law school with a job offer. Most people were waiting until bar results came in to extend offers. So within that week, I passed the bar, which I will say, by the way, I found out I passed the bar on my 25th birthday. So I celebrate my birthday each year as
Whoop,
well
whoop.
as passing the bar.
Good.
But my first job was in Tampa. That week that my bar results came out, I had a flood of interviews, follow-ups from previous interviews and opportunities, and to see if I was still interested, because companies and government agencies were getting ready to make offers. So my first job was with a small law firm in Tampa. I practiced lemon law and general civil litigation, representing people against motor vehicle manufacturers. Working at a small law firm gives you a lot of exposure. So while my friends were complaining that they were just doing discovery and they weren't being allowed to go to court immediately, or they hadn't had the opportunity to argue a motion for summary judgment as yet, I had done all of that within my first year. I had taken and defended depositions on my own. I had attended mediations with clients on my own and settled cases. And so when you work at a small law firm, you're given your caseload and you're given a lot more authority over the cases. So you learn really quickly. I spent plenty of weekends talking to more senior attorneys. How do I prepare for my deposition? What should I do after I, complete the deposition? And just trying to learn and be a better attorney.
I love it. I'm reading the comments. I have to give a special shout out to this brother, the lead attorney. He is one of the most fabulous gentlemen in the YouTube world. He's also an attorney out of Georgia, a diverse attorney, and one of my mentors in the YouTube game. So thank you, sir, for stopping in and leaving a comment. Thank you. We appreciate the shout out so much. And Hot Chocolate is listening. She's saying, wonderful. This is amazing stuff. I'm so glad you guys are enjoying it. This is just let me do a quick reset. I'm Suzette Speaks. This is the Let's Talk Justice show. We are here to discuss women in law, and I'm going to ask her some very interesting questions about her experience as a woman, because I think, sometimes we hear all these wonderful accomplishments and it seems like they just kind of roll one into another. But trust me, there's always an interesting story as a lady behind some of the transitions, because they're not always like the same as for the gentleman. So I want to talk to you about that. I know you worked on the 11th Circuit here, also in Florida. Talk a little bit about what you did. Everybody's saying, hey, TLA in the building. He responded. Hey, Hot Chocolate. Yes, we have a community of YouTubers and folks who are kind of getting their feet wet, even more so. And I have a question here actually from Daphne. Daphne said, what are some of the reasons why a lawyer will not take your case when you when they take all your information and say yes? Ooh, this is a tough question. So I'm going to leave a little bit of a disclaimer, because in this form, we're not giving any legal advice. Miss Daphne, we have to be careful because we're attorneys. So if you have a specific question about a case, you can go to an attorney, preferably on a one-on-one basis. This program right now is only for informational purposes, just a discussion, just to enlighten the public in terms of a broad sense. So we got to be careful. We're not giving any legal advice. We want to make that very clear. Okay, so this is intended for informational purposes only. But to answer your question, I know, and I'll allow our guest here to also share her thoughts. Welcome, Mary. We see you. We have, as attorneys, sometimes a difficult job of making an assessment of a case before we can take the case. So, when there are facts that come out, hopefully sooner rather than later, we can make an adequate assessment and say, okay, yes, seems like you have a viable claim that we will be able to pursue and hopefully get some remedy for you. But oftentimes, when we start to dig a little deeper into certain cases, we see facts that might not lend to some type of recovery for you. Something comes up, basically, something that we didn't know initially that sometimes changes the position that we take on whether the case is viable or not. So that's a very broad answer. I don't know about your case. And again, I can't give you legal advice based on your specific facts of your case. But in a general sense, sometimes there are factors that preclude you. For example, what I do, personal injury. I had a guy came to me for consultation. He told me he had a slip and fall on a boat. I was like, okay, slip and fall, ding, 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 check, come see me. Let me see what else happened that day. But one of the main factors that he left out was that it was raining that day. Bad factor for pursuing a case because there were other conditions that existed that he didn't tell me initially that now will impact what type, if we are able to get a recovery, what type of recovery we will be able to get. So that's just one example in my practice where I've had people where I was excited to see the case, listen and learn about the case, but then later on, sometimes facts emerge that change your position. What would you add to that, DeAnne?
I actually think you summed that up very nicely, Susan. I was thinking back to my time in private practice, and essentially, that's exactly what happens. You have that very brief initial conversation with the potential clients. They give you the information based on the general synopsis. It seems like something that the firm or the attorney can handle. But once you actually get all the documents and get all the paperwork and you get more information, you might find something that is not, makes it not necessarily a good case, or maybe the attorney is not able to handle that case. Maybe it's a bigger issue than the attorney has the capacity to handle at the time. Or my favorite was the client comes, they talk to you, and what they neglect to tell you is that the case is set for trial or for a major hearing within a few days, but maybe you're double booked. So all of those things
I
could
love those.
factor in.
I have a hearing tomorrow. Can you take my case? But ma'am, I have other clients, ma'am. How did you expect me to go to the hearing tomorrow? Like, I have had that happen so many times. And again, and I give credit to a lot of folks don't understand, what an attorney must do to prepare for a case. And sometimes it is an emergency. So call me anyway. But those are sometimes the most difficult calls to make. Salute, lead attorney in the building, blind guy, his wife, their life. Wonderful show on YouTube. Please check them out as well. I love having them here. Thank you for your support, guys. So we're going to talk a little bit about your experience as the lead attorney says, okay, my problem was always seeing cases that I knew would be disasters, and I took them anyway. Early on, lead. Early on, that was me. Early on, I was like, bro, what did I do? What did I decide to take this case and put all this work in for this little bit of money? Oh my gosh, don't I know the feeling? But yes, sometimes we lawyers do have very soft hearts, especially when we're kind of early on in our careers. And it can be like, whoa, I should not have taken this case at all, man. But yeah, we've learned, and sometimes things do change. So sorry about that, Daphne. I hope that answered your question. But yeah, sometimes different facts come out later. And with those circumstances, the case and the probability of winning the case does change sometimes. All right. So let me ask you about being a lady lawyer. There are 2% nationwide of women of African descent, Black women are attorneys in terms of the country. Only 2%. Now, I guess we learn a lot because here in Florida, I know a lot of African American women lawyers. So I was going to say of that 2%, probably a good half of that. No, not half of that, but maybe a quarter of that may live in South Florida. So we're very lucky. We have a lot of exposure to women of color. But of course, if you go around the state, that's not always the case. Can you tell me about, any circumstances where you felt like your gender um, gave you a different perspective, or maybe you received different treatment in your legal practice? I don't know if that's a loaded question, but I just wanted to know because sometimes people are like, oh, everybody has the same experience, and we just don't. As African American lawyers, we don't have the same experience. As women lawyers, we don't have the same experience. Can you talk a little bit about where you felt like your gender may have played a role in some portion of your legal career?
So, Suzette, you're actually very fortunate being from South Florida because your perception is not reflective of what's around the rest of the state of Florida. As I mentioned earlier, I started my career in Tampa, and I was also working in the lemon law field where I was bringing cases against motor vehicle manufacturers, and that is definitely a man's world. I think maybe there were two other female attorneys that I came across in about a year and a half of practicing in terms of, and one of those attorneys was in the firm that I worked at. And I think I came across one attorney serving as opposing counsel. So very aggressive. There were sometimes the environment was hostile. I'm just gonna say it. It was sometimes very hostile. It was my first year. I didn't know any better. I didn't know how to react or how to handle some of the angry emails, some of the hostile behavior. Also, I remember I had one case I went to court, and the attorney, just the essentially very friendly relationship that some of these attorneys have with the male judges, you almost felt like you were on the outside. And so that was essentially part of what led me to leave my job in Tampa and move to South Florida. I just didn't feel like I fit in. Unfortunately, I was not as immersed in the bar associations there, which is why I think bar associations are so important, because even if you're out there and you're working at your firm, you may be the only woman, you may be the only Black woman. The bar associations allow you to see people who look like you, and have people who you can talk to and who can guide you. So that's my essentially my initial experience of being a woman in the legal field. It wasn't very pretty. And I essentially decided to pivot from that.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that's, very, transparent, because being the only one is not uncommon. Hello, somebody. Being the only one. I've gone to hearings in places around Florida, and I walk into the courtroom and they're looking like, what you doing where the lawyers sit? And I'm like, because I'm an attorney and I'm about to sit down. Thank you, bailiff. Like, it can be very intimidating. And you have to keep your professionalism, and you have to make sure you represent your client. That's at the end of the day. I'm like, you could try to, throw a little shade. When I walked up to your desk and I show you my paperwork and I know I have my hearing, and you still asking me, I'm sorry, who are you? The defendants sit here. And I'm like, oh, but once again, sir, I'm the attorney. Thank you. Please step aside. Like, you're going to have that. You're going to have that. And it's sad, because this profession has traditionally been a very, very male dominated profession. And as you are, eloquently pointing out, a lot of times the networks that are established, we're not necessarily a part of them. A, because we're young attorneys. That's fine, because we don't know a lot of people yet in the legal profession. But B, there's a very, what should I say, strong network that exists that oftentimes we are on the outside of. We're not sure how to get into. And it can be very intimidating when you are trying to make your way and get job offers and look for, clerkships or other type of opportunities. So thank you for pointing that out. We have some comments here. Yes, lead attorney says, Atlanta must be special because too many Black women attorneys are everywhere here in the divorce courtroom. Oh, yes, sir, I believe you. Because, yeah, sometimes we have a skewed vision because we happen to know like so many. So I hear you on that. But yeah, but nationwide, guys, only 2% of attorneys across the country are African American women. 2% out of 100%. It is kind of scary. So we definitely need people. We're going to encourage everyone. If you know somebody that's trying to go to law school, wants to go to law school, encourage them, because we need more diversity, both from the lawyer's perspective and lawyers become judges. From the bench's perspective, we definitely need a lot more folks that represent, the nation. So that's very important. All right. So let's get into what you do, Madam President. You are president of the Bar Association. So again, the TJ Reddick Bar Association is known by some, maybe not by others. So we want to get into that. We have some comments Hey, blind guy, his wife says, balancing your professional authority is challenging enough being young and pretty, so you have to tighten those networks. Hello. So you aren't advocating for yourself by yourself. That is a word. That is a word for real. Sometimes, I mean, early on, I was like, "Ooh, I have more composure than I thought I had," because you get shy. You like, hold up, sir. No, like it's very it can be, some places. I'm not gonna paint with a broad brush, but you do have this kind of old boys club feel depending on where you are. So you just have to know what you're getting into, and you have to conduct yourself and with the utmost, professionalism, and also expect, okay, they'll get used to me. Don't worry, you'll keep seeing me. So you do what you have to do. Yes. Hope you guys are doing great. Okay, perfect. All right. So let's get into Madam President's what she does. First of all, you just explained what bar associations are, kind of. Tell us more about what a bar association does and how you became involved in the TJ Reddick Bar Association.
So, the TJ Reddick Bar Association was actually founded in 1982 by 9 Black men because at the time they felt like Black attorneys were not being afforded the opportunities to, become judges, to get jobs at law firms, or, just being given the respect that they felt like they deserved in the community. So they essentially started this organization to address those issues. And today we continue with that legacy by, supporting minorities in law school through our annual scholarships that we award. I am so excited, having served as the scholarship committee chair for 2 years before becoming president-elect and now ultimately president, that at the gala where I was sworn in as president, we awarded over $14,000 in scholarships to support current law students and high school students who are interested in the legal field.
Amazing. Amazing. So when you are an attorney, are you automatically a member of a bar association? Can you explain how that works?
So you would not automatically be a member of the TJ Reddick Bar Association as a lawyer. You are automatically a member of the Florida Bar because the Florida Bar is a mandatory bar in the state of Florida. But if you are supportive of the mission of the TJ Reddick Bar Association, you can become a member. There is no requirement that you have to be Black. You just have to support our goals and our missions of ensuring, equal access and equal opportunity for Black lawyers as well as for Black law students.
Awesome. So good to know. So these are voluntary bars. This is not where you must be a member because you're African American, or we have Hispanic bar, we have Cuban bar down here, Cuban Bar Association in Miami. You have so many. So these are kind of like affinity group bars, but you don't have to be Black to be a member. As she says, we are here to uplift, Black attorneys, the Black community, and the community at large. This is about making, access to the legal system equal, as well as just making things fair across the board is really, I think, one of the main missions here. So if you are in Broward County and you're an attorney, check out the TJ Reddick Bar Association. So you mentioned you raise a lot of money. $14,000 to go to scholarships for young law students. Trust me, I could have used it. That's not too shabby. Congrats. That's a big deal. That's a huge deal. Talk a little bit more about some of the programs you guys do. So if you want to build that network, guys, coming out of law school, join a bar association. Obviously, we have a mandatory bar. If you're in Georgia, it's the Georgia bar. If it's Florida, it's the Florida bar. You have to pass the bar exam to be able to practice. That's one type of bar association. But these are voluntary. These are where you're working with other attorneys to better your community and to get to know and strengthen that network. So tell me a little bit more about other aspects of the TJ Reddick Bar Association, what you guys do.
So I'll briefly address my goals as president this year, and then we can speak about some of the specific programming that's coming up. So essentially, my goals as president this year are to address, first of all, the student loan crisis. A lot of our members are Black attorneys. A lot of them work for the government, and student loans stand in the way of generational wealth. They stand in the way of attorneys buying homes and essentially living the life that we For me, for example, I'm the first in my family to go to law school. So essentially living that life that you thought you were going to have and to be able to provide for your family in the way that you would want to. So we've started programming. For example, one of the first programs during my term was to address student loans and to educate members about how they can essentially manage their student loans. Another major component that will be addressing during my presidency is diversity on the bench. Suzette, you mentioned that there are 2% of attorneys who are women. I would have you know that 5% are Black. So when you actually look at the number of Black attorneys, the statistics don't get better. So we are essentially, making sure that we are having programming to build that pipeline to create the next generation of judges so that we can create more diversity on the bench.
Sorry, I muted myself. Yeah, it's super important. I think 5% nationwide of attorneys are African American. That's crazy. Like when we think about how much, what is it? Depending on who you ask, 13 to 17% of the country is African American. So only 5% being a part of the legal profession. That's very telling. And that's something that we're going to have to definitely keep working on addressing. So I love the I'm going to chime in a little bit, Madam President, on the debt part, because I think a lot of people don't realize how much money it costs to go to law school. And oftentimes, now there are programs that do offer scholarships, but those are not the norm. Most people have to take out loans to attend a graduate program such as law school. So for me, I know, where's President Biden at? I want to know what he's going to do for us, because that's something that we don't talk about. That's why you got to be sure this is something that you really want, because at the end of the day, you are going to owe some money. Not going to say, depending if you're going to, you went to private school. I went to public school. So I went to UF. So my debt still to this day, when I started out, is probably about 75 grand. So that included my bar loan. So the loan I took to take my bar exam, because you have to, again, take a prep course to pass the bar at the end of law school. So you have to save some more money, or sometimes people say you can't work and study for the bar. So I was going to say, or get a job, but it's very difficult to study the way you need to study, as well as, put away money and focus and try to pass the first time. So so there's a lot to be said about the debt that lawyers go into. And oftentimes, as Madam President has pointed out, you're not necessarily getting a high paying job. I know you guys want to be Law and Order CSI around here, but there are so many lawyers. I think in Florida now, we have over 100,000 lawyers in Florida alone. So we are I don't think there's that many legal jobs, but like myself, lawyers also are trying things that are not traditional, where we're going into other fields that are not necessarily, the traditional means of practicing law as a prosecutor or as a public defender or in private practice. We are going into other industries, I think sometimes by necessity, because of the debt and because, we just have different interests. I think a lot of lawyers are multi-talented, so we try our hand at different things. All right, Blind got his wife saying, doing good over here. I hope all is well. All right, saying salute to the lead attorney who is in the building. Thank you. So let's talk a little bit more about some, which I say, local issues here in Broward. We talked about diversity on the bench, meaning hopefully electing judges that reflect the community, and the number of judges that we have, particularly say in our county, that are Black women, people of color, is like minute in terms of the which I say, us being a minority majority county where we live. All the minority groups together make up a majority of the population here, but not so when it comes to representation of who our judges are. What would you say to people who don't pay attention to judges on the ballot? I know a lot of people like to mark on their ballot, the large races, the big races, and then tic-tac-toe some of the rest of them, don't fill it in because they don't know who the people are. Why is it important to know who's running for judge, and what can we do to help diversify the bench a little bit more?
So I would say, and right now I'm essentially speaking to any attorneys out there who are thinking about becoming a judge. I would say really take a look at that application. If you are interested in going through the appointment process, start working on your application now, not when an opening um, becomes available. And if you're thinking about running for office, the TJ Reddick Bar Association, along with the Judicial Diversity Initiative and many other local bar associations, are available as a resource to educate you on the process. TJ Reddick, for example, is hosting a Path to the Bench series. We already had part one in September, where we had judges who were appointed and elected share their stories about what it was like, and why they chose the path. So I would just say reach out and we can definitely get you connected, because we want to expand the number of Black judges in Broward County, because diversity on the bench is very important. And then to the community, I would say, we see these verdicts, and sometimes they're in the media, and that's when the community gets outraged because of the verdict of a case, or an opinion that is issued by the appellate court. But that's too late. The point when you're supposed to be getting involved and educating yourself is when the individual is on the ballot, or when there's a retention for the appellate judges. That is the time when you're supposed to be educating yourself about judges and their views. It's too late when they're already in the seat and you're not happy with the decision that they made, and then you get on social media and you express your frustration. Let's get involved at the very beginning and educate ourselves and make sure that we're having our voice heard.
Absolutely. Great advice there. I love Nikisha saying, congrats, DeAnne. Great info. Daphne's chiming in. She says, apply for student loan forgiveness. Hello, somebody. Can the church say amen to help pay off those student loans? Listen, I'm about to be in line. Thank you, Biden. Thank you, whoever, because it is a very important part that we don't discuss sometimes. People don't understand that you go in debt to become, professionals. So that it can be a hamstringing experience, because a lot of people say, well, that's why trade schools are good, because you don't pay as much money to get a trade and you come out making that 30, 40, 50 an hour with far less debt. So shout out to those who are pursuing trades. Everyone has their place in our society. Sometimes I think we overemphasize doctor, lawyer, maybe accountant and a couple other places. But for those who are good with their hands and want to work in a lucrative field, sometimes I think the argument has some merit when it comes to how much we owe versus how much we make, and other professions where you are doing plumbing, or you're doing electrician, or you're doing something else, where people sometimes think, oh no, I want to be in an office and I want to be doing this. Yeah, let's crunch these numbers. So thank you for that information. Hot Chocolate is saying amen, and so is I got his wife there like amen. Fantastic. Well, I want to ask you a little bit more about your personal story, DeAnne, because you've shared so much great information here. I know you're an immigrant. I know first in family to go to law school. There are people that are saying, it's not worth it anymore. Why go to law school? I've heard this. And I try to encourage people to follow their dreams. But there are a lot of drawbacks. Like I said, there are a number of attorneys, depending on what state you're in. I think everybody wants to come to Florida and retire. So we have a lot more attorneys here and we have more law schools now. So we're producing more attorneys sometimes. And I think, some people are saying for that very reason, you end up with all this debt. You can't go, to this high, the chances of you getting a high earning job are much less now. Because there's just so much more competition. So what would you say to people who, based on your own experience, are now contemplating law school, but are kind of doubtful about it, saying they're going to owe too much money? What would you say? Would you still encourage people to go to law school? And what would you tell them to look out for? Something that you didn't know before attending?
So I actually was asked this question yesterday, and my answer is, make sure that you want to become an attorney. Because I think before people would go to law school because the JD was something that's good to have and it's a springboard and it's helpful in other areas. If that's your reason for going to law school, I don't necessarily know that it may be worth the investment. But if you truly want to be an attorney, you want to practice law or do something JD preferred that's directly related to having a law degree, I would encourage you to do the numbers and look at, ways to be able to go to law school in an affordable way.
So diplomatically put, if you really want to, you can go. But just know there's sacrifice to it, and watch your numbers. Maybe you don't go to the private school. Maybe you don't go out of state. Those type of things. Or depending on the type of job market that you have in a DC or New York, maybe it is important that you do go to the higher name school, the more expensive school, the Georgetown, the NYU, and those places, because the type of law you want to practice guarantees you a better salary than perhaps some of us who are going into, other areas of law, especially initially, where you're not going to be making more than 50 grand, 45 grand working for, governmental agencies, public defenders, prosecutors in the state of Florida. I don't know what they make in other places, but it's not balling. It's not balling. It's called public service. So yeah, you really want to crunch the numbers. Thank you, Blind Guy, his wife, saying great as always. Thank you, DeAnne. I appreciate that. Madam President, I know we have a few minutes left here. I will definitely let you out on time. Do you have any other words of advice, encouragement, things that we should look out for as, both citizens or as attorneys getting ready to, go into the, I would say, next quarter of your presidency? What can we look out for? What should we know? What are you guys working on so that we are, engaged both as attorneys and non-attorneys in the legal system?
Thank you. So I first want to address a comment that was put in the chat. In my personal life, because I have student loans, I do a lot of research and a lot of reading about student loans. So I just wanted to say for anyone out there who has student loans, especially if you work in the public sector, please make sure that you are checking out studentaid.gov. The Department of Education just released a huge overhaul of the public service loan forgiveness. And on a personal note, I was told by the Department of Education that my time working with the Guardian Ad Litem program, 18 months of it, did not qualify. I was making my payments for, towards the program. And I was told at that time, those payments did not qualify, and I was not going to be given credit for those towards loan forgiveness. And then yesterday, I received an email already as part of the loan forgiveness program that they're estimating that I'll be receiving credit for those 18 payments, which is very exciting because that job was the definition of public service. So please, if that applies to you, do your homework and hopefully you'll be celebrating, because I'm definitely celebrating that. So I just wanted to address that before
I'm
I get
just
into
like,
some specific
whoa, they need
events.
to give you your credit. What are they talking about? Oh my God, give me my credit. Guardian Ad Litem is not public service? Like, give me a break. Hot Chocolate says, please don't let this be the last time of us seeing you. You are welcome back anytime, my dear. No, it won't be. She has an open invitation. But yes, please continue.
So I just wanted to talk about some of the upcoming events that the TJ Reddick Bar Association has. Our next general body meeting is October 21st. We're going to be talking about legal ethics and social media. And as a full circle moment for my career, I mentioned that I was in the Legal and Public Affairs Academy at Coral Reef. Our speaker, Miss Jan Jakobowitz, who is now a legal ethics expert, was my teacher in high school. So I'm very excited for the conversation with her on the 21st. And for the community, we've partnered with State Attorney Harold Pryor, who's a past president of the TJ Reddick Bar Association. We will be having a sealing and expungement clinic on October 28th. So please, the information will be on our website and our social media. Follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, the TJ Reddick Bar Association. If you are someone or you know someone who's been arrested and they need to get that record sealed, please have them pre-register. Due to the pandemic, we're only accepting pre-registration. So please go ahead and get that information in so that we can have attorneys look at it and see if you're eligible to have record expunged.
That's huge. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Sealing and expungement. So just real quick, explain what that means for those who are watching who don't know what that means.
So essentially, if you have been arrested, let's say, and it's an offense that is eligible to be sealed and expunged. There's an entire list in the statute. That's why you have to pre-register, and the attorneys will look at it. And so we'll go through the process with you, get that record sealed and expunged, and you no longer will have that come up on your background check, or will prevent you from getting a job or anything like that. So please make sure that we are looking into this because it's very, very important.
I'm so excited.
We're very excited for that.
I'm so excited. If you could get stuff out of your record, off of your record, and again, it depends. And y'all register. You heard her say register. This is free. So for if you or maybe has something you did as a juvenile, just as an example, I don't know your specifics. Again, we can't give one-on-one advice in this platform. But if you have something on your record that you want to look at and see if it can be expunged, removed, when people do a search, a background search, it does not come up. This is an event for you, girl. You're gonna have to let me get the information and I'll put it in the description. I'm so excited. I am so excited. Hot chocolate feels like how I feel. Hallelujah. You are an amazing woman with so many great steps ahead. I love it. I want to support women, particularly those in leadership. Your jobs are not easy. Again, we have some additional hurdles, all of us do, but some additional and unique, I should say, hurdles sometimes that we have to cross. So we have to make sure we are upholding one another, supporting one another as much as we can. I want to thank the president of the TJ Reddick Bar Association here in Broward County, Florida, Miss DeAnne Jackson, for joining us today. Y'all, get them likes up. I'm sorry. She gave you a lot of good information. So please reach out to her. I'll leave the for the different social media handles for the organization. If you're interested in getting involved, if you want to learn more about what they're doing, scholarships, you want to apply for all that, there's so many resources, guys. Sometimes we just don't have the knowledge. So please hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you, Miss DeAnne Jackson, for making time for us on the Let's Talk Justice show, giving people a fresh start. I couldn't agree with you more. These are volunteers, guys, attorneys who are volunteering their time and their services to see if they can help the community. I love it. Keep doing what you're doing, my darling. And we can't wait to have you back. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Y'all want to leave a bunch of comments before we sign off. This blind guy, his wife says, some of us know what an expunge is thanks to our family and friends. Hey, so we appreciate the specific info there. This is true. I don't want to assume everyone knows what that means, but yeah, this is a huge, program. So if you qualify, go ahead and get registered. I love, just seeing y'all so active in the TJ Reddick Bar Association. I've been a member in past years, maybe not so active now, but been member before. And thank you guys for awarding me during this last year's gala. I received an award, the Professionalism Award. Thank you from my peers. That meant a very, it was very touching, and it meant a lot to me to be recognized in that way. So thank you, TJ Reddick, for awarding me an award this year. I really was surprised and grateful and all that good stuff. Well, she got to go, y'all. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much, DeAnne. Would love to have you back. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that like button. Don't be shy. You can still drop comments if you're watching the replay. We'll go back and read those as well. Thank you so much. Y'all have a blessed day. Appreciate y'all watching. We'll see you next time on Let's Talk Justice. Y'all take care. All right. Thank you. See you guys soon. Bye now.